Here we are. Another Saturday, another Final Cut TV and coffee. I still have to do a little bit. Thank you very much for the thumbs up already. You're the best. I got to do a little bit of maintenance still because things were a little different this morning than what they have been in the past. So just bear with me for 1 minute, please. 2 minutes, maybe. I have to do a couple of just double checking, make sure we're where we're supposed to be. Okay, we're live there. A couple of key places I have to make sure that we're live. We're live there. All right, let me just try one more. Let's go over to here. Put it over there. Post. And I think that's probably it. Let me just check on statistics again. All right, we're on Facebook, we're on X, and we're on YouTube, of course, where we already got our 4 thumbs up. And we've just started. We have just started over there, so. We've got some more things to talk about, as usual. Mostly Final Cut Pro 10 related, but also we're going to talk about the Final Cut camera app. We're going to talk about Logic Pro 11 that's coming out on Monday. And we're going to talk about the Apple Crush ad that everybody is talking about. So who's going to be the first to comment about anything? Most of our comments, of course, come out from YouTube, as you might expect. As you might expect. See, now it's weird. Let me see what it says there. There we go. Another thumbs up. Yeah. So in my software, I don't get reports from Facebook on who's watching. Let me just pull this graphic up. But I'll show you the discrepancy. This is what Facebook is reporting. Let me just go over here to graphics. This is just a little bit strange, but it's just the way it is. So I'm going to pull that off. Let me go over to here. That is my countdown. So here is what the software is reporting as far as viewers go right now. And we get a lot more than this. This is just the beginning. So it says 9 over on X, 18 over on YouTube, but it doesn't have any list for people watching on Facebook, right? But here's what Facebook is reporting. 19 people are watching. That's what's really strange. So Facebook says 19 people are watching now. My eCam says nobody from Facebook is watching. It just says it's live and it's streaming. But as you can see, Facebook says 19 people are watching. So I don't know why there's such a discrepancy, but there is. So I cannot trust eCam Live with Facebook numbers. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Lots of thumbs up this morning already. Lots of thumbs up. So the count, I just can't, another thumbs up. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You are the best. Absolutely the best. Let me make sure that's turned down. The best. Absolutely the best. Let me just get some of these comments up. Good morning, Rich. Is there an update or will there be Final Cut for iPad for older iPads? I haven't seen anything announced about that. I don't think they're going to support older iPads. I think most of their stuff is centered around the M1, M2 chips. If you don't have coffee, you should get some coffee or tea. Okay. So I keep getting this question. So as far as the older iPads, I don't think so. I think they're going to continue to just do the current iPads. I think the Final Cut Pro Mac version will support older Macs, but I think the Final Cut iPad 2 version is only going to support M1 Macs going forward, and I don't know what the cutoff is. Now, I keep seeing this question, release date. We don't know. It's just coming out later. It was really weird. The Final Cut 8 Mac announcement doesn't even say later. It just says it's coming out. When's it coming out? We don't know. When it might come out is Monday, because Logic Pro 11 is coming out on Monday. This is 11, and also Logic Pro for the iPad 2 is coming out. 11 on the Mac, 2 on the iPad. So since they've been announced for Monday, it might come out this week. 10.8 might come out this week. Our friend Spot Lewis from Philadelphia. How you doing, Spot? Oh, we got a comment from Facebook. Fantastic. I'm over here on Facebook looking, sounding great. Yeah, it says we got 19 people watching on Facebook, but my software doesn't say that. 19 watching now. So it's weird, but it doesn't say that. Doesn't say anything. Good morning from North Carolina, our friend Don Stafford. Good point. I've been thinking about this. We heard all about these features coming to Final Cut Pro 10.8, but there was no mention of the spatial video tools that were promised prior to the iPad event. They were promised in 2024. They were not promised this first update. I understand people who want to edit spatial video. That doesn't really excite me that much. So, but I understand for people that want it. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to be a curmudgeon and say, oh, I don't want that. I'm not going to use it, of course. I like the thumbs up bubbles. How do you do that? It's a combination of Sonoma and Ecamm Live and my Stream Deck. I can trigger them on my Stream Deck, which is, it's a hardware button. I can trigger them. I can also trigger balloons and a bunch of other things. So that's how I do that. It's a combination, but I think it's built into Sonoma and they're accessing them via, I have a hardware button for those. I used to do it with gestures, but I didn't like that because sometimes I give a thumbs up and I didn't want a thumbs up. So I don't know about spatial. Here's what we're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about this. So I put up a video. Let me go over here and see if I can find that little stinky video. There we are there. I put up a video. Let me make sure this is the right one. Yeah. So I put up a video over the last week talking about 5 releases that came out. The most important to me is Final Cut Pro 10.8 for the Mac. Second most important to me is Logic Pro. It jumped from 10.8.1 all the way to 11. So Logic Pro went from 10.8.1 and jumped all the way to 11. It's only been out for 6 months. 10.8.1 came out last November the 30th. So in 6 months, they jumped from 10.8 to Final Cut Pro 11. I suspect the exact same thing is going to happen with Final Cut Pro. The good thing is, no subscription, free for all existing Logic Pro users. This is telegraphing that this is probably going to be exactly the same for Final Cut Pro. Final Cut Pro is going to jump from 10.8, which is going to be soon, to Final Cut Pro 11 within about 6 months. So by the end of 2024, Maybe we'll see a preview of it at the Final Cut Pro Creative Summit in November. Maybe. Hasn't been announced yet. The summit hasn't been announced. I'm just going to presume that's going to happen. So I'm saying that Logic Pro jumping from 10.8 to version 11 in 6 months, free for existing Logic Pro users, is I'm predicting that the same thing is going to happen for Final Cut Pro. No subscriptions, like people have been saying that I didn't believe. And where are all those little things coming from? 100%. I'm not getting those. And no subscription. It's going to happen in 2024, within 6 months. And it's going to be free for existing Final Cut Pro 10 users. Jeremy says, I'd like to see the camera app afford the ability to shoot an auto link to a Final Cut Pro project over on my Mac, accessing iPhone shot media immediately. So that's one of the things right now is iPad only, Final Cut for iPad only. Final Cut iPad 2. Final Cut for iPad 2. At this point, the live multicam with the 4-camera switching is only on the iPad. I suspect that's built in to the M4 chip that came out with the iPad. Thank you very much for the thumbs up. We already got 12 thumbs up. We already got 50 people watching live. Let me see if anything's reported. Oh, yeah. Nope. Still no reports from Facebook on my software. So we have more than 50 people. We have 70 people because there's 20 people watching over on Facebook. I got to just monitor Facebook separately because it's not showing up. I don't know why. No idea why. But X shows up and YouTube, of course, shows up. As a matter of fact, let's go over there to, let me make sure. Yeah, it says live. 27 people are watching over on X. Let me see if I can get over to that broadcast. I always have problems. I never can get over to the broadcast itself. Let me see. So 27 views. Let me just pull this up. Yeah, 30 people are watching over on the X platform, which is fantastic. I like to keep track of who's watching from where. Let me go over here. I have a bunch of folders in here. Let's go over to here. Just going to pull this over here because I have two different ways of accessing here we go here. Accessing my stuff here. And this is it. Okay, this is it. X test. And I'll put it in there and it'll show up. And there it is. So we got comments from X, we got comments from Facebook, and we got lots of comments, of course, from YouTube, which is fantastic. Fantastic. So Jeremy says, I'd like to see the camera app afford the ability to shoot an auto link to Final Cut Pro project on my Mac, accessing iPhone shot media immediately. That's not the camera app. Okay? The camera app is one of the components to make that happen. But in Final Cut for iPad 2, they have a live multicam feature built into that application that can access any iPhone or iPad that's shooting video with the Final Cut camera app. The camera app is not doing that. There's an app built into Final Cut 2 for the iPad. It's called Live Multicam. It's built in. That app can see any camera or iPad that's running Final Cut camera. The Final Cut camera is not doing the jumping over. It's built into the app. I can almost guarantee that'll be coming to the Mac version. To the Mac, either 10.8 or as Final Cut jumps to Final Cut 11, it'll show up there. It might be dependent on the M4 chip version that we haven't seen yet. It's not in the Mac yet. So it's not the camera app doing that. I've noticed my CBS affiliate in Boston, WBZ, has suddenly started using iPhones for some aspects of their news coverage. I wonder when local news will edit their news packages on an iPad. If they're in the field, an iPad makes complete sense. The ability to have a director, producer with an iPad running Final Cut 2 on the iPad, using the live multicam feature, and the reporters are out within a certain distance. They can't be out across the state. Certain distance, running Final Cut camera, and he can live switch those. He has 4 separate sources. He can live switch those in the iPad. Makes perfect sense. And I came out with my video yesterday morning and said, based on the updates for Final Cut iPad 2 and Final Cut Pro 10.8, they don't have any of the same features. 2 updates to 2 brand new version numbers, 2 for the iPad and 10.8 for the Mac, and they don't share a single feature. Completely separate feature package. And I said, it looks like the iPad version and the Final Cut app Mac version are going different directions. And that very well could be. We have 34 people watching over on X right now. Fantastic. So I think that feature is going to be coming to the Mac version. The live cam. So you have 2 things going on. You have the Final Cut camera app that the phones or the iPads have to be running, have to be shooting in it. And then you have live multicam that's built in right now to the iPad 2 version. I don't know if it's going to be available in version 1. I don't know. I think this is on version 2. So you need both of those things in order to have the live, however they're doing it, getting those cameras into Final Cut. Apple's M3 and M4 support AI. Macs with that chip are the best for the new update Final Cut Pro X and AI features. Greetings from Holland. But we don't have an M4 Mac yet. The M4, well, here's one of the restrictions on the iPad. The iPad is only running the base M4 chip, the very base M4 chip. It's not going to run the M4 Pro. It's not going to run the M4 Extreme like Macs are going to be doing later this year, I presume. It's running the base M4 chip, which is limited to 16 gigabytes of RAM. So we have Holland watching. You can see over in the garden over there, let me pull myself over there. You can see over there, somebody is gardening in our garden. She's getting it ready. She's getting it ready over there in the garden. She'll be working out there most of the day. I'll be working out there later today. Help her putting up the deer fence and stuff. Oh, we got a starling. That's a starling. Getting his favorite, there's a either mockingbird or catbird. I always get those 2 confused. They're gray birds. Okay, here we go. We're going to talk about the Crush ad. The blowback over the Crush ad is stupid. These entertainment idiots don't want others to have the ability to do what they do and want gatekeepers. The iPad Pro crushes the gates. I'm not going to get in a big debate about the iPad crush ad. I personally found it distasteful. And I was completely shocked that Apple allowed destruction in one of their ads. It was a very negative connotation for the ad, which is what the blowback is. Does that mean they shouldn't be able to do the ad? No, but they're not putting it on television. I was shocked at the ad, to be honest with you. I thought it was just not something that Apple normally does. Apple is normally positive. That was a very, it was a very negative, violent ad, crushing things. I'm not really going to get into the politics of it. I'm just saying this is my personal feeling about that ad. I was shocked that they put that up, especially Tim Cook, of all people. News packages are already being cut on iPads in the field, but with the new version of Final Cut for iPad, you can live multicam switch. You cannot do that now. You can't do that until you get the new version of Final Cut. And when I say live, I don't mean capture 4 separate videos and put them on the iPad and then switch them. I mean, you have an app built into the iPhone, Live Multicam, and in that app is a window of 4 cameras, 1, 2, 3, 4, and you can choose. You can just click on one and it'll go live, click on another one and it'll go live, click on another one live, click on another one live. So Live Multicam is not the same as editing with the multicam. But yes, you're right. News packages are already being cut on iPads in the field. Yes, BBC, I understand that. And for a number of years, I understand that. I use it live everywhere I go. But the multicam, the live multicam is what I'm talking about. The live multicam is brand new. So far, only the iPad can do it. But I got a sneaking suspicion we're going to see it on the Mac as well. A new station is much more likely to use DaVinci Resolve and their replay editor with the Blackmagic camera app, not Final Cut Pro in your humble opinion. Yes, but if they want to be mobile, the most mobility is afforded by iPhones and an iPad. That's the most mobility. And who saw that coming? Who predicted live multicam in the iPad? Nobody. This is one of those times when the Final Cut Pro team comes out with an option, a new feature, nobody saw coming, nobody was asking for, but I can see how handy it is for live television. Our friend Sean Beckner says, good morning, everyone. Greetings from Liverpool, UK. Fantastic, fantastic. We have 80 people watching live, plus or minus. I can see the Mac and iPad versions going off in different directions. To me, they have 2 different user bases with different needs. Yes, obviously some overlap, but I can see the gap widening over time. Yes, I agree with that. That's why I distinguish. Thank you very much. We got 16 thumbs up already, and we've just started. Fantastic. Let me just see how many people are watching over here on Facebook. Let me see. Facebook. See, I have to go over to, let me see over here. There we go. I'm just checking. I like to keep checking numbers so I see where the biggest audience is. Well, I know it's always X and YouTube. They always have the most numbers. 16 thumbs up. Fantastic. Thank you very much. That wasn't the meaning. The meaning was it put the ability to do it all in one thin device. Absolutely. So I'm still struggling to get, I have the money for the new iPad. The version I'm getting a 1 terabyte because it has more RAM and one more CPU. So I'm getting the 1 terabyte space black, whatever that black color is. I'm not getting the keyboard. I'm not going to be using it that much. And I'll get a pencil, but I'm not even sure what pencil I'm going to get yet. So my total is around $2,000. So I have that. But I'm not going to get anything till WWDC because I want to see if they're going to announce M4 MacBook Pros at WWDC. This I agree with. It was a dumb ad, but it's being overblown too. Eric, that's exactly the way I feel. I don't think it was a dumb ad. I was shocked that Apple put out, to me, it was a very negative ad. The majority of the ad was very negative. But yes, some of the stuff is being overblown, which is normal on the internet, isn't it? People overblow things, especially they go to the negative side. So dumb ad, yes. It was, Apple admitted they made a mistake because of all the blowback. They're not going to put it on television. I was completely surprised. I mean, I don't want to see pianos getting crushed. And are you going to crush my guitar? No, you're not going to crush my guitar. I'm going to run in there and save it. So I was shocked. I was shocked that passed all the layers in Apple, of all the things that Apple puts aside and won't let happen, and they let that ad go through. It had to have been approved multiple times. Apple does much better ads than that. The quality of that ad was way subpar from what Apple normally puts out. Now, I'm not on the other side where everybody's just, oh, it's the end of the world and stuff. No, I'm not doing that. Cindy did a great video demoing how the Final Cut camera app and new iPads work. Did they really? I missed that. I'll have to go over and see. How did they? Thank you for telling me what kind of commercials you're seeing. I'm just curious. 5-second Zales commercial. So Zales appreciate what we're doing. Thank you. I just find that interesting. 5 seconds, 10 seconds, whatever. And I'm just curious. So just let me know when you get an ad and just what it is, how long it is, and how long it's stuff. Thank you for another thumbs up. Fantastic. You're right, Rich. M chips and iPads are not like in Macs. For example, M2 chip in a new iPad Air doesn't support hardware ProRes decoding. Instead, basic M2 in Macs. So yeah, that's one of the things. Somebody brought that up on the last broadcast when I was going over the difference between Final Cut for iPad and Final Cut for the Mac. And that's a big one. You only get 16 gigabytes of RAM on the iPad. That's the most you can get. Well, I'm running 64 on a MacBook Pro that's 3 years old. And I'll probably go to 128 when I get a new MacBook Pro. So that's a limitation. That's why I say it's a step down from the MacBook Pro version. Now, it's able to do other things so far that the Mac version can't do. That's fine. But as far as just raw power and stuff, there's no comparison. It never is going to be. The photograph of Paul Simonon smashing his bass guitar on the sleeve of the Clash's London Calling album is an iconic image. Is it the criticism of the Crush ad unfair? Yeah, but see, that's not, smashing your guitar in rock and roll is nothing new. I mean, I've seen The Who multiple times, and I was an usher at Meriwether Post Pavilion in Columbia, Maryland. And one of the concerts, I ushered Steppenwolf, I got to meet John Kay, and I ushered The Who. One of the shows that I ushered was The Who. And I got to just briefly meet Pete Townshend. and he smashed his guitar, his Gibson SG, on that show. That was back in the 70s, the early 70s. That's smashing a guitar in rock and roll. Jimi Hendrix smashed his guitar. It's iconic. It's a proper place for it. But Apple, Apple has a good image, usually a very positive image. And that was sheer destruction, crushing things. I just found it distasteful for Apple. If somebody else had done it, I maybe would have been different. But I'm not overblown about it. But when I watched it live, I was going, boy, this is a weird ad for Apple to do. I don't know how it, as many layers as Apple corporate has and whatever, and they let that get through multiple layers. I'm really, that's what I'm surprised at. I'm surprised that got through Apple, through all their caretakers and stuff. So is a criticism of the Crush ad unfair? I'm not joining the other side where everybody's jumping up and down and doing somersaults. I'm just saying, me personally, I was quite shocked that Apple played that ad. I'm kind of disappointed that they did. They have much better ads. Most of their ads are pretty clever, and that one was destruction. That one was destruction, and to me, it was a negative ad. To be clear, you have confirmed that iPad can live stream a multicam production in real time, not live to tape, but true live switching. Can you connect a camcorder? No. You have to use, at this point, you have to have either an iPad or an iPhone that is running the Final Cut camera app. Now, if you notice something. I call it Final Cut iPad, okay? The camera app is not the Final Cut Pro camera app. It's just the Final Cut camera app. Thank you very much for the thumbs up. So at this point, you have 4 different ability to switch. And what it is the cameras will connect to the iPad. I don't know how. I don't know if it's Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, some other proprietary connection that does that. You can switch one of the 4 cameras in live. When I say live, I don't think it's streaming out live. It's just streaming in live. The 4 cameras are streaming in. I don't think the iPad version of Final Cut can stream out. I don't think that's the case. I think right now it's one way going in, streaming into the iPad version of Final Cut. I haven't seen any evidence that it streams out, that takes that and streams it out somewhere else. I haven't seen that. That would be perhaps forthcoming, but I don't see, we haven't seen anything about streaming from the iPad to like to Facebook or YouTube or yet. But somebody brought that up in the last Final Cut TV show. That would be very interesting as well. So I would not doubt that's not coming. Streaming to YouTube first, streaming to Facebook, streaming to X. Take those multicam streaming and then output them to one of the other platforms or multiple platforms. So your question, I'm not clear. To be clear, you have confirmed the iPad can live stream a multicam production in real time, not live to tape, but true live switching. Well, it's live switching into the iPad. But I don't know what happens from there. And it's a good point. Can you take that live switching and output it? Or are you just recording it locally? I don't know that part yet. I don't know that part. But for news gathering, phenomenal. That would be phenomenal. When I go to the Final Cut Pro Creative Summit in November, I'm planning on, they have not announced it yet, but I'm planning on it happening. I expect Final Cut Pro 11 to be announced, at least previewed at the Final Cut Pro Creative Summit. And the reason I say that is based on Logic Pro. Logic Pro 10.8 came out in November of last year. Here it is 6 months later, and they announced Logic Pro 11. 6 months, they went from 8 to 11 in 6 months. I think that's foreshadowing exactly what's going to happen with Final Cut Pro. So we're going to have Final Cut Pro 10.8 very shortly, and I expect by the Creative Summit we're going to see Final Cut Pro 11, at least a preview of it at the Creative Summit. SD cards crushed. They had lenses that were crushed. They had guitars, they had a piano, paint tubes. So I just think the outrage is creators act like Apple is taking business from them. AI music, the musicians freaking out. Sora has filmmakers freaking out. Technology changes everything. I'm not saying that part of the equation. I'm not saying, Apple's going to do what it's going to do. It's going to use AI for video production. It was just the actual ad. Didn't you think it was a destruction of all these iconic things? There was just destruction, and to me, that's negative. I'm not talking about the bigger picture of whether Apple's taking jobs away from people with AI. No, I don't go for any of that. AI is going to do what we let it do. If we let it take jobs, it's going to take jobs. We're in control at this point. Okay, so far, but remember Terminator. Thank you very much for the thumbs up. Skynet. The internet is devoid of metaphor. It's all too literal for too many. I just thought it was the destruction was something that Apple normally doesn't do. That destruction of iconic things, guitars, pianos, just crushing them. That was, to me, a negative portion of the video. I'm not talking about the bigger picture, but I understand both sides, but I don't. Apple can do what it wants to do. I'm not jumping off the high dive into the, melee. Anyone can be a musician, songwriter, screenwriter, filmmaker, content creator. Now, everyone can have a voice and share their visions. But I bring this up all the time. I understand the democratization of video editing. But let me just bring this point up. Democratization of video editing doesn't make anybody more talented, and it doesn't increase the amount of talent that's out there. For example, how many pencils are there in the world? Millions, billions of pencils. But how many can draw like MC Escher? Just because there's millions and billions of pencils doesn't mean everybody can take that pencil and draw like an artist or like MC Escher. Now, I like the idea that people have access to these tools. Avid used to cost $100 million. $100,000 for an Avid system. Who can afford that? Nobody can. So giving these tools accessible, but it doesn't really create talent. The talent is there. And personally, as an artist myself, musician and a painter and a video editor, I'll find a way to express myself one way or the other. So anyone can be a musician, songwriter, creator, exactly. But don't you think Apple could have done a different ad to express what they were trying to express there without the crushing destruction, which to me is negative? Don't you think they could have done a different kind of an ad and still had the same idea? I think they could have. Yeah, I have a friend who made his own theme song. Well, if you listen to the music, hold on a second, let me pull this up. Listen. That's me, my band, playing my original music. So I have multiple songs. I have this song. It's another one that I wrote and played. I have this one. These are all my original songs that I played with my band, and I save them for my live streams. Thank you very much for the thumbs up. We got another thumbs up. Fantastic. We got over 100 people watching live right now. He used AI. It's not any copyright issues yet. I wrote my own. I don't need AI. I actually wrote and recorded with my band. As a matter of fact, was I use that guitar? I think I used that guitar on one of them. SD cards crushed tape stock, yes. Streaming will crush cable, yes. Automobiles crush the carriage industry, yes. On and on. The ad was merely visual symbolism. I don't agree with that. They overcame, but you didn't see when the automobile came out, you didn't see anybody crushing a horse and carriage. That would have been outrageous for them to take a horse and carriage and just crush the horse and the carriage. It's the imagery. The fact that people are upset about it, like I said, I'm not on that bandwagon, but I'm also not on this is my personal opinion, I was disappointed in Apple with that. I really was. They could have done as much money as they have and the talent that they have, they could have done a much more effective, positive ad and still got the same point across. It's the crushing and the destruction that I found unsettling. And I was shocked. It's not a matter of something overtaking something. It's a matter of the destruction, the graphic destruction of stuff. And I'm not really interested in getting into debate over it. I'm just telling you my personal feelings are that I was shocked that Apple did that ad. Wait till all those upset see what AI can do and render much of their mundane repetition tasks useless. The ad worked. Why? What are we talking about? Ads are designed to drive sales and get people talking about it. Apple is known as a very positive company. Most of their ads are very positive. Very positive. That ad had destruction, and to me, it was negative. It was a very negative way of doing it. They could have done just as an effective ad with a positive video. That's what I'm saying. We're talking about it. Yeah, but we would have talked about it anyway. If it was a good ad, it would have been the same thing. If it was a good ad, we would still be talking about it. Can you use NDI with the Mevo to get it video into an iPad? This is Mevo. This is a Mevo camera, and no, I'm not using NDI. This is going over my Wi-Fi network. So this backyard camera is a Mevo camera, and it's automatically in. I don't know about the iPad, but Ecamm recognizes it as a source. There's the gardener out there. She likes doing gardening. She loves her gardening work. Her name's Jane. She's my partner. So I don't know about the iPad. I just don't know. I don't know. I would love to see robust color correction tools on the iPad version of Final Cut, okay? Is that your main, do you use Final Cut mainly on the iPad? And for someone who can't sing, write music, learn an instrument, or many other instruments, can do it all through technology progress. It's beautiful, and sometimes you have to crush the past to progress. No, you don't. I don't agree with that. You don't have to crush anything. You just beat it in a race. You don't have to crush it. You don't have to destroy. You don't have to destroy one thing in order to do something else. I don't agree with that at all. I'm not saying you don't pass it. I'm just saying you don't have to crush. You don't have to destroy it in order to get past it. And as far as for someone who can't sing with write music, learn an instrument or many instruments, that's what the music industry is now. It's people who can't sing, write music or learn instruments or many instruments. Much of the stuff out there in popular music, I'm not a fan of. It's too fake. It's too computerized, computer written. I don't like it. I like organic stuff myself. I like organic writing. So I'm not a fan of popular music. I don't listen to it. I couldn't name you any of the songs. Usher did. I can't name any of the songs. Taylor Swift. I couldn't name a single song Taylor Swift or Usher. Any of these popular music people do. Too much nonsense. Too much, they're just lip syncing live a lot of times and with computers in the background and all that. Not a fan. I wonder if we can go back, change camera angles for live switching like we can for multicam edits. Well, back and change camera angles for live switching. Well, I think, I don't know if it's saving those files. No, the cameras are saving the files. So the 4 cameras that you use, they should save the files natively, and you can always import them later into a regular multicam and, switch that way if you want to. Do you think the Final Cut camera app will have cinematic mode? Possibly. It possibly could. Maybe not the first incarnation of it, but after a while it can. There's no evidence that the amount of creativity increases with the advent of new and affordable technologies. Well, that's what I agree with that. So in other words, there's millions of pencils out there, billions and billions of pencils. Just because there's billions of pencils are available doesn't mean there's more people that are creative because they're available. How many people can draw like MC Escher with a pencil or other artists with a pencil? The availability of the tool, I'm an artist. I've been an artist since I've been a little kid. I'll always find a way to express my art. The tools didn't make me more talented. I had pencils, pen and ink, watercolor when I was younger, oil painting. I could take a pencil and be an artist, a 10-cent pencil, and I can still draw trees and landscapes and stuff with it, or I can choose another medium. It had no effect on my talent and how much talent I had. Same with guitars. Okay, I can play my Strats, or I can play a cheaper guitar. It has no bearing on my talent. So I agree with that. See, I'm not going to get involved with debating about other things with this. Just, I told you my opinion, and you're not going to change my mind. Okay? My opinion, it was not a good ad for Apple to run. You have a different opinion? That's fine. I'm not going to get into a debate of the whole world situation and destruction of the planet and stuff. That's some other podcast, not this one. Okay? We're not going to do that here. I thought it was insanely clever, smashing all that stuff into a very thin device. I did not. I thought it was, they could have done a much better job with a different idea, doing the same thing. The destruction, it was very negative to me, and I didn't like it. Talent is like art, is subjective. Talent somewhat, but technology doesn't make talent. Talent's inherent. Like I said, I'm not, Patrick, if you keep on talking about stuff that's not related to this ad, I'm going to get you out of I'm going to ban you from the channel. I'm not going there. I'm not going into the world order of things and destruction of the planet and all the things that are necessary to make computers. Not going there. That's not what this channel is about. Just talking about the ad specifically. So if you want to keep it up, you're going to be banned. I use Final Cut both on Mac, iPad, and Mac. Good morning, Richard. Good morning. Great coffee morning to you, Richard, and all the Final Cut Pro editors here. Absolutely. Let's talk about Final Cut Pro. We're not going to solve all the problems of the world on this podcast. That ain't going to happen. Would it be nice if one could do live picture-in-picture effects, source scaling, tracking, etc., with FCP camera? It's FC. It's not FCP camera. It's Final Cut camera, not Final Cut Pro camera. Just the little distinction I want to make. Edited a reel with Final Cut Pro of the rare northern lights in Alabama last night. Final Cut Pro is so fast. So I've seen a lot of people post northern lights videos and stuff. Was that across the United States, or completely across the United States? Thank you very much for watching. You added to my viewer count is appreciated. 20 thumbs up, 100 people watching. Fantastic. I want an iPad with no external buttons. I am always inadvertently pressing them. No external buttons. Well, how would you access stuff? All right. Yeah, I completely agree. I learned drums on a very cheap first act. Yeah, I completely agree. I learned drums on a very cheap first act kit before I ever got to a real Tama set. So yeah, I mean, the talent is there. You know, what you use, of course, you use something better. I like Strats and I have Gibsons. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't know it was all over the place. I didn't know it was all over the entire United States. I didn't know that. So one thing that I just want to say that one thing that I don't do, Yeah, there's some graph that shows how far it reached down south. Definitely not normal. Yeah, because I don't ever recall are they called the Northern Lights? I never saw that in this area on the East Coast. Would love to have Logic Pro 11.x, the GUI from the Logic for iPad, same colors, faders, blah, blah, blah. Same browser. That's, by the way, very cool. Oh, they're going to be back tonight. See, I get up early in the morning. I'll go out there and look. I'll go up there in the morning and go out there and look and see if I can find them. Just going to check. Just going to check. Supposed to happen tonight as well. Thank you for letting me know. I'll have to check. We got over 100 people watching right now. Let me just see. So we got 32 watching on Facebook, 70 watching on X, 32 on... Wait a minute. Let me see what Facebook's watching. Let me go back to Facebook. Let's see how many's watching over there. If I can get a count. Yeah, a lot of people are watching on Facebook. Okay. That's what I thought. I'll have to go out and see. A lot of people watching on X. A lot of people watching on X. Very, very cool. Yeah, so we had them over in Europe. We had them, but it seemed like it was all across the United States, even here on the East Coast. If I had known it was going to be the East Coast, I would have went out and tried to shot. I would have go out and try to film them. So I will tonight. Color correction tools on Final Cut for iPad. I sometimes shoot on a 5D3 and love to color correct on the iPad before I move across to Final Cut Pro on my Mac. Why? Don't you like the tools in Final Cut Pro? By the way, the northern lights were visible across the UK last night, and it will happen again tonight. Absolutely. Don't worry about the views. Get to the content. Well, this is part of the content. We talk about all kinds of things. I like to talk about the views. So if you want to get to the content, you have to listen to the view talk as well. That's just the way it's going to be. I'm going to play. Let me see here. Let me see what movies I have for today. Hold on a second. Do I have that movie? All right, hold on a second. So here's a video that I did. So we just got major updates to Final Cut Pro, both for the iPad version, which went to version 2, and the version for the Mac that jumped from 10.7.1 to 10.8. So here's some interesting facts about the updates to Final Cut Pro and Logic Pro. Logic Pro Mac jumps from version 10.8 all the way to version 11, and it's free for existing Logic Pro users. So I was shocked that Logic went from 10.8.1 all the way to 11. That completely caught me off guard. In the morning, I posted on Twitter and Facebook, and I said, today's a good day for a Logic Pro update. And of course, we got the Logic Pro update because nobody was talking about Logic Pro, but it's been a while. I was completely shocked it went from Final Cut Pro, from Logic Pro 10.8.1 all the way to version 11. So we have Final Cut iPad. I love the portability iPad, absolutely. If the iPad is your main editing device, absolutely. It is portable, but my MacBook Pro is not that much bigger. It's a lot more powerful. So I prefer the MacBook Pro, and I prefer Mac OS by a large margin over iPad OS and iOS. I find iPad OS and iOS very frustrating. So just the OS alone is one of the reasons that I prefer the MacBook Pro. But I'm still probably going to be getting an iPad Pro. But I'll be running LumaFusion. I'll maybe try out the I don't know why I would try out the Final Cut on the iPad when I'm editing on a more powerful machine, a more powerful version of Final Cut on my MacBook Pro. I have no idea why I would want to use the iPad version instead. Now, I might use it as along with it, like if I wanted to do a multicam live stream. And that's a good point about that. Does it go out? Can you send it out somewhere, or is it just on does it stay on the iPad? And if that's the, well, I guess if it just stays on the iPad, what's happening is you don't have to download all 4 sources to the iPad. You're live streaming them, you can switch that. I don't know. That doesn't seem like it's going to be ending there. There's probably is going to be a live streaming component to that going forward. But anyway, yes, it absolutely is portable. I have a friend that travels the globe doing video work. He said the Northern Lights in Alabama were better than Denali when he was there. Absolutely interesting. Northern Lights in Norway were pretty amazing. Audio Design Desk has new 2.0 version. Yeah, I haven't been using Audio Design Desk very much. I use it very limitedly. I have to get back into it. We're over 100 live viewers right now. If you're watching from X, shoot a message so I can just see who's watching. But Audio Design Desk is a very, very cool application. So I just haven't used it for a while. I'm falling behind. When is 10.8 actually available? We don't know specifically, but Logic Pro is coming out. Logic Pro 11 for the Mac and version 2 for the iPad is coming out on Monday. They have pre-announced that. Okay, they have pre-announced that. It's coming out on Monday. So 10.8, let's go and find it. Let's go and find it. Let me see. Where are we? Checking it out. Let's go to Start page. Here we go. Let's go here. Hold on one second. Let me see. Sponsors, Countdown, Movies, Black, copy of Countdown, web video. Let's go here. Thank you very much for the thumbs up. Oh, we're already there. Okay, here we go. Let me turn it on so we're live. There we go. So down at the bottom, it says, what does it say? Here, it says, thank you very much for the thumbs up. Let's go down. Here we go. So it says Final Cut Camera will be available for later this spring as a standalone app. Final Cut for iPad will be available later this spring as a free update for existing users. It just says Final Cut for 10.8 will be available as a free update for existing users. It doesn't say, well, obviously it's going to be later this spring, but it could come out with Logic Pro on Monday. Because it doesn't, it makes a distinction. Final Cut Camera later this spring. Final Cut iPad 2 later this spring. So it doesn't say. It does not say when Final Cut 10.8 is coming out. It doesn't even say the other thing. So, but I expect, look, Logic Pro is coming out Monday. I'm excited about that. Right now, back up your copies of Final Cut Pro and Logic Pro. I have no idea how you back up a copy of an app on an iPad. No idea. Zero idea. So this is how Apple says, let me see if I save that in there. Yeah, here we go. This is how Apple says to, I'm going to pull this up higher. There we go. This is how Apple says to save a backup copy of your file. To back up your current copy of the Logic Pro application, create a new folder. Oops, let me just do that. That didn't want to do that. Let me turn this on here. Create a new folder in the Applications folder. Name the folder with a version, blah, blah, blah. Here it is right here. Select the Logic Pro application in the Applications folder. Choose File, Compress Logic Pro. It will take a few minutes to compress. That's how you do a backup. Do the backup for Logic Pro now. Do the backup for Final Cut Pro now. That's how you do it. But to answer everybody's question, when is 10.8 actually available? Anytime. It could be next week, could be Tuesday, Thursday, or Monday, along with Logic Pro. Or it could be in a week. But I think I'm thinking it might be out next week. I'm very excited for Logic Pro on Monday. Absolutely. What software do you use to record and mix your music? So some of the music I've recorded over the years has been on reel-to-reel decks, and I still have those decks, so analog tape. Some of it was mixed down on an analog board. I just recently sold that analog board. Some of it was recorded in Digital Performer, Motu, Mark of the Unicorn Digital Performer, and mixed in Digital Performer. Nowadays, it's 100% Logic Pro. I'm a big, big Logic Pro user. And I really, really like it a lot. So that's what I do nowadays. Now, I have plugins from Waves. They have good plugins, but the better plugins are from United Audio. They have excellent, excellent analog emulation plugins. What software do you use to record and mix your music? Logic Pro? I'm typing this message on my iPad Pro in my garden. Very cool. Very, very cool. What gardening do you have? It's surprising news about Logic Pro 11. I was talked about minimally. Big news in my opinion. It is big news. The interesting thing is, let's go back to the movies here a second. This is great news because Final Cut Pro is now at 10.8 and it very well could jump to 11 and be free to existing users the same way that Logic Pro did. These two versions of Logic Pro for the iPad and the Mac have a 100% feature parity. These are the features for both the iPad and the Mac version of Logic Pro. Session players, Chroma Glow, and the stem splitter. Unlike Final Cut iPad 2 and Final Cut Pro for the Mac 10.8, which share no common features. That's what's interesting. Logic Pro for the Mac, Logic Pro 11, and Logic Pro 2 for the iPad, 100% feature parity. They get the same features across both versions, as far as we know. Now, I don't know when they come out, it's going to be some differences or not, but the feature parity was 100% exactly the same on both versions. Final Cut for iPad 2 and Final Cut Pro 10.8 have 0 of the same features. None of the same features with this update. Now, whether that's Final Cut catching up to Final Cut Pro or not, I don't know, but I'm saying I found it very odd that Logic was 100%, Final Cut Pro was 0%. Not one feature common between the two updates. Do you think if you had Final Cut with a new keyboard, you may want to use Final Cut for iPad? Well, out of curiosity, but it's a step down from the version that I have on my MacBook Pro. It's not as powerful. It can't access the same amount of RAM. It can't access the more advanced M4 Pro. I can't connect it to my RAID, which I need. I can't access the thousands of plugins that I have already bought on Final Cut Pro. So it's more restrictive than the version that I have. When I see it demonstrated at the Final Cut Pro Creative Summit, it looks very, very cool. I really like it. But it's not as good as what I have on my MacBook Pro. So to try it out, perhaps try it out, but I don't see long term. Thank you very much for the thumbs up. I don't see long term using it on the iPad. If I edit on an iPad, I would use LumaFusion, which I think is a better NLE because it was built from the ground up, and et cetera, et cetera. It's not like they took Final Cut and ported it over from the Mac version. Oh, how can we imitate this? How can we imitate that? No, it was fresh right from the beginning. They didn't have to copy anything that the Mac had. It's mostly about touch interface. If you like it, iPad makes more sense. It does, but it's more restrictive. It's not as powerful as the Mac version. I don't see in the near future it's ever going to be. Like I said, it only uses the base M4 chip. It doesn't use the M4 Pro or the M4 Extreme. And it only has 16 gigabytes of RAM available to it. That's the max right now on iPad Pro. But I'm probably going to get one as soon as I'm going to wait till WWDC to see what's announced. I'm probably going to get an iPad Pro. I'm just not that interested in Final Cut on the iPad. I'm much more interested in LumaFusion on the iPad because I already got Final Cut on my MacBook Pro, and I'm doing fine with it. Now, if they announce a new MacBook Pro with a touch interface and Thunderbolt 5 and the M4 Extreme chip, if they announce that, I may just skip over the iPad Pro and just wait for that to come out, because that'll be $6,000 probably. But we'll see. If they don't announce anything groundbreaking at WWDC, I will probably get the iPad Pro. I'm not that interested in trying Final Cut for iPad. It's not for me, but I understand people like it. That's nothing wrong with that. Absolutely. Yes, I agree with that. Final Cut 2 for iPad allows for editing off external storage, game changer. So I have that on my list. I have over 40 things that Final Cut for iPad is missing that Final Cut Pro on the Mac has. One of them was editing on external storage. Now, of course, LumaFusion's been doing that since it came out. You can edit off external storage off the iPhone. So that's a big deal. Why the iPad? When you need to be mobile, nimble, and quick, Final Cut on the iPad is perfect. It's tailor-made for ENG as long as Apple doesn't weasel users into having to use the cloud. Well, I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm just saying, listen, when I'm editing, I'm going to use my MacBook Pro. It's just about as portable. It's more powerful. I have a keyboard built in. I have way more RAM than 16 gigabytes of RAM. I have all my plugins. You tell me a way to port over my 3,000, 2,000 plugins to the iPad. You tell me a way to hook up my RAIDs. Portability, no, I understand. If I didn't need my plugins, if I didn't need my RAID, if I didn't need more than 16 gigabytes of RAM, for portability, absolutely. It's a shade smaller than my MacBook Pro. But my MacBook Pro, I edit on an airplane with it. I take it to my hotel room. That's completely fine. It's not that much more portable than MacBook Pro. It is, yes, 10 or 15%, 20%. Yes, I understand that. And I don't disagree with that. We'll put that comment back up there. I agree. That doesn't mean I'm going to be using that version day in and day out. Sean says the Northern Lights will be stronger tonight. Just go outside and look up, light a fire for some dramatic lighting, and take some photos of yourself with the skies in the background. I'm going to do that now that I know that it's going to be out again tonight. That's fantastic. Why has Apple told us about 10.8 before making it available? Have they done this in the past? Yes. Yes, they have. I can name two examples off the top of my head. In 2022, in March, I woke up one morning, I got a bunch of messages. Hey, look at this video. Well, it was iJustine showing 10.6.2 with dupe detection and voice isolation in March. Well, Apple allowed that to happen. They may have encouraged it to happen. I don't know. But they allowed it to happen. And then other YouTubers came out with it. So that was the demo. That was not the demo. That was a beta version of Final Cut Pro that Apple allowed people to show before it came out. It came out right before NAB in April of 2022. The second time was Final Cut Pro Creator Summit 2018. I'm pretty sure it was 2018. Final Cut Pro Creator Summit 2018. They showed us Final Cut Pro 10.4.4. They previewed it, showed it to us. It didn't come out until December, 6 weeks later. So that's two specific times that Apple has showed a version of Final Cut Pro in public and talked about it before it was available to the public. Ford commercial, 4 seconds. 4 seconds isn't bad, is it? Ford. I used to have a 65 Mustang. It's odd the way they say the day for Logic, but not Final Cut. It is peculiar. It is peculiar, but it's also peculiar that Logic is the same features on both the iPad and the Mac version, and not the in the Mac version is not the same. Feature parity. Back in the day, I used to mess around with computer music on my Atari, built-in interface game changer. Love this technology, though I don't do music these days. I like the technology too. It's obviously it can be beneficial. Unless Apple is just working on the touchscreen MacBook, it makes zero sense. Why would they want iPad to compete with Surface Pro by giving Mac OS on iPad? I didn't say that. I don't think Mac OS is coming to the iPad. So I guarantee you that Apple has touchscreen MacBook Pros in Cupertino. They've had them for years working on stuff, trying things out. So it would not surprise me in the least if they came out, if and when they come out with a touchscreen MacBook Pro. It doesn't mean that you have to use the touchscreen 100% of the time. It just means it's available if you want to use a touchscreen. Still have a trackpad, still have a keyboard. It'd be nice sometimes to use the pencil on the Apple screen just to write on it, for example. That would be kind of cool. Doesn't iPad Logic and GarageBand have many features that aren't on the desktop? Obvious touchscreen features like instruments and such? I don't think so. But I'm not talking about 100% feature parity across both those apps. I'm talking about this last update with 100% feature parity. This update. There's no way in H that I'm going to be using Logic Pro on the iPad. I'm not paying $4, $5 a month. I got Logic Pro on my MacBook Pro. I got the most powerful version of Logic Pro that's available. I need more than 16 gigabytes of RAM. Okay? No way that I'm ever going to use Logic Pro on an iPad. Don't want it, don't need it. Logic Pro for the Mac has a iPhone and iPad control device. It's free. You can touch screen things for the Mac version with your iPad and with your iPhone. You can touch things and move things around. I don't think that the Logic Pro on the iPad has anything over Logic Pro on the Mac, but I really don't care. I'm not going to ever be using it. Yeah, there might be minute differences. That's correct. But like I said, the Mac version They have a Logic Pro app. I can put faders up here and touch them around and bring up everything and touch my phone, and it takes care of the Mac version. They've had it for years. A companion app. You can use the iPad. I can pull up a whole mixer on the iPad and do faders with my fingers if I wanted to. For the Mac version, they've had that for years. So it's a touch interface if you want it. Yeah, it's kind of nice. I use that. They should come out with iPad Classic mode in Mac OS for touch. That's somewhere down the line, I'm sure, a long way. Well, like I said, I think that, thank you very much for the thumbs up. I think that, I know that they have a touchscreen MacBook Pro that they've been working on for years in Cupertino. Just trying it out, make sure they don't, when they see there's an advantage to it. I mean, the one thing is, a long time ago, touchscreen displays were a lot more expensive than just standard displays. Well, that has come way down, so they're just about the same price now. So, but the thing is that Mac OS is not a touch interface. iPad OS is, iOS is, but Mac OS is not. So there's some of that going on. But they have one. Cupertino absolutely has a touchscreen MacBook Pro. I use my iPad Pro a lot more than editing post-production. Previs Pro, Final Draft, Procreate are just some of my many use cases. Yes, I use it for LumaFusion, and I use it for reading at night. When I'm in bed and I want to read something, my books, I'll use my iPad for that. I use it for watching movies on an airplane. Before I go to like the Cupertino for the Creative Summit, I'll download enough movies for both ways on the trip, 4 or 5 hours of movies, usually TV series, and I'll watch them on my iPad Pro. I don't do any creative work on it. When I worked at the National Archives, I had an older MacBook Pro, and I took that on the subway. When I was on the subway, if I had to do something, I would just pull that out and just do it. You're absolutely correct. I'm trying to understand the use case for live multicam on an iPad other than recording maybe a podcast or event. Seems they go after things that no one is asking for. I understand that exactly. Nobody was asking for that, and they just put it out there, but I think it's not finished yet. I think it's not finished yet. So here's the idea. Here's the finished version. Well, first off, you don't have to download the 4 video files from the phones or iPads like you have to right now. You don't have to download them into the iPad to start editing. You can edit live. Now, I don't know what they're doing. I don't know. Is it Wi-Fi? Is it Bluetooth? Some kind of something proprietary? I don't know. But it doesn't seem like this is the end. It seems like this is the beginning step. So the beginning step right now, the iPhones go into the iPad. You can choose which one you want to cut. Is that just saved as a file on the iPad at this point? I don't know. But you don't have to download the four 4K files. You don't have to download them first and then edit the multicam. You can do it live. As they're recording, the iPad sees 4 separate iPhones, and you can switch which one you want to cut to. Now, you don't have any kind of a preview or anything. You have to just do it live. What's happening to those files, I don't know. I presume they're saved on the iPad, the iPad Pro somewhere. That's what I presume. That's fine. But it seems to me like if you could take them in one side, the 4 phones, and then stream it out live to YouTube or Facebook or X, that's where it's headed. If you can't do that, I think that's where it's headed. You can cut and stream it out live, maybe with a 5 or 10 second delay in case you make a mistake, something like that. That's, I think, where it's headed. I don't know. Is it just a saved file on the iPad? I think it is right now. I don't know that. Do you have a bedside iPad stand with tilt that's handy as it dropped? It ain't that cheap. I put it up. I have a nightstand that I can put it on. It's horizontal. It has the case allows it to be stand up by itself. I can put it on the nightstand and look to the side, or I can put it on the bed itself. But it's in a case. It's in a case, and I can read, that way. I would much rather have an iPad Mini Pro. I have the iPad Pro 12.9 is too large. I was considering the 11 versus the 12.9. I would definitely get the one that has the more RAM, though, the 16 gigabytes of RAM. The 512 only has 8 gigabytes of RAM. And it has one less CPU core, a little bit less. So I would get if the 1 terabyte would be the one that would allow the faster processing. I would consider an empowered iPad if you could somehow move a part of the Final Cut Pro UI onto the iPad screen without losing the use of the pencil and be able to do live drawing on that. Yeah, that's an interesting. Adobe Photoshop ad 20 seconds, but can skip after 5 seconds. Thank God you can skip. You got 27 thumbs up. Fantastic. We've got 100 people watching live. That's great. It's great. Let's go back and watch a little bit more of this movie. These are the features for Final Cut iPad 2. And these are the features for Final Cut Pro 10.8 for the Mac. Unlike Logic Pro, the Final Cut Pro updates, both for the Mac and the iPad, have no common features. Now, I find that amazing. There's no common features between the two. Like I said, it looks like they're doing this, like they're diverging. The iPad on the Mac and Final Cut Pro on the Mac and the iPad version are separating. Which, that would be fine. It would be two different use cases. I mean, Final Cut on the iPad is an entry-level way to get into Final Cut Pro. You don't have $300 or $200, $4.99 a month. It's perfect. It's well designed for that. But people were saying, they've been saying, oh, there's going to be a subscription for Final Cut on the Mac. Well, the evidence, don't know for a fact, but the evidence, the fact that Logic Pro jumped from 8 to version 11, no subscription, free for current Final Cut Logic Pro users. To me, that's saying that Final Cut's going to follow suit. Thank you very much for the thumbs up. It's appreciated. You're the best audience. I'm telling you. You are the best audience. Hands down. Hands down. Thank you very much. I've always ran into storage issues with iPhones, so you would basically need 512, 1 terabyte iPhone times 4 plus new iPad. Seems expensive. Yeah, up to this point. Now, this version, the 15 Pro Max, you can edit with LumaFusion with a SSD plugged in. You can edit directly from the SSD. You don't have to download your files into the iPhone. So that's a bonus, and I'm sure the new iPad, so this is USB 3. This USB-C port is USB 3. The iPad is Thunderbolt. Much, much more robust connection. So hopefully it's pretty seamless. You plug in an SSD in and you edit right from the SSD. Your friends at Cinedy says that the weight reduction of the 13 compared with the 2018 models are very noticeable when handling them. That's very hand-holding them. Very interesting. Hello from Canoas, Rio Grande. I'm in the city affected with the floods. Well, good luck with you. Thank you very much. Thank you for watching, and adding to our viewer count. We appreciate it. We just got another thumbs up. Fantastic, fantastic. I appreciate it. Thumbs up for your channel as always. We have 30 thumbs up. Fantastic. Thank God my area is dry unlike all the other city. That's a good deal. We have 105 people watching, 30 thumbs up. Fantastic. Thank you for adding to the viewer count. We appreciate it. Let's watch a little more of that movie. It seems they are going in different directions, the iPad version and the Mac version. Since they had a full number version update for Final Cut for the iPad to version 2, for optics, they had to give Final Cut for the Mac also a full number update. So they jumped from 10.7.1 to 10.8. Calling it Final Cut Pro 10.7.2 would not cut it. So I've seen some people say that this 10.8 Final Cut Pro 10.8 should have been 10.7.2. So here's why that wouldn't work. You update Final Cut for iPad a full number from 1 to 2. You update Logic on the iPad a full number from 1 to 2. You update Logic Pro on the Mac from 10.8.1 to version 11. Three full numbers. And you only update Final Cut Pro from 10.7.1 to 10.7.2? There's no way. There's no way that would have happened. That's just, the optics look terrible. I'm not debating that the update to 10.8 isn't a giant feature update. It has a lot of neat stuff in it. But the idea that they would keep Final Cut at 10.7.2, no. And then also Final Cut Camera. Notice it's not called Final Cut Pro Camera. It's just called Final Cut Camera. Okay? Not Final Cut Pro Camera, just Final Cut Camera. Same as this TV show. I mean, same as what you're watching right now. This is not Final Cut Pro TV. It's just Final Cut TV. Okay? Final Cut TV. Same as the camera app. It's Final Cut Camera app. Just for everybody to, just a little item there. So yes, they had to update Final Cut Pro to 10.8. So do you know when Apple will launch Final Cut Pro 8? I'm going to tell you what I think, okay? Whether I know or not, I'm just going to tell you what I think. Logic Pro is coming out on Monday. Both versions, the iPad and the Mac version of Logic Pro is coming out on Monday. Since they didn't announce anything about when 10.8 was coming out, it could come out on Monday as well. Right along Logic Pro, both versions of Logic Pro. Or it could come out on Tuesday or Thursday next week. Now, if it doesn't come out next week, maybe the next following week. It'll be out shortly, at some point shortly, but back up your version of Final Cut Pro now in your applications folder. Back up your current version so you have 10.7.1 or whatever version you're on. You can revert back to it. It's very important. Very important. Final Cut Pro 10.7 to 10.8 was the shortest duration between full number updates in the history of Final Cut Pro 10. 6 months. This seems to indicate that full number updates do not have the same importance that they had up to Final Cut Pro 10.5 when they used to be big feature updates. Full number updates are just another regular update number. To be continued. So, since 10.5, which had almost no features whatsoever, the full number updates aren't like they used to be up to 10.4. We had, whenever we got a full number update, when I say full number update, I mean 10 dots full number, not 10 dot dot. Up through 10.4, we had a lot of features when 10.4 came out. We had a lot of features with 10.3, a lot of features with 10.2, and a lot of features with 10.1. 10.5, So since 10.5, that full number update hasn't meant a laundry list of features like they have in the past. It has not meant that. So when will it launch Final Cut Pro 10.8? Maybe Monday with Logic Pro. At any point, just check during the week. And this is a very good point. I think we'll see more features in Final Cut Pro 10.8 than we have been announced, but those features will be announced as coming in conjunction with WWDC, especially anything that is AI related. Well, we already know there's a small item, there's a scrolling timeline button above the timeline, the toolbar above the timeline. There's a scrolling timeline button. You can turn it on and off instead of going to system settings preferences. So that's something they didn't really talk about, but we picked it up in the screenshots. So I agree that there could be more features. This is what they've announced so far. Now, well, first off, even though I didn't like the ad, in my personal opinion, I'm entitled to that the same as you guys are entitled to your opinions. I didn't like it. I thought the negativity with the destruction was uncalled for. They could have done a better job some other way. I don't think that we've seen, like you said, everything that there is in Final Cut Pro 10.8 yet. Could there be some more stuff coming at WWDC? Absolutely. They could announce a new MacBook Pro, an M4 MacBook Pro. Absolutely. That would be fine. Later, I expect an M4 MacBook Pro in 2024. I don't expect it to be announced at WWDC other than a preview, other than coming out later this year, other than coming out in time for Christmas. Absolutely. That would be something that I could absolutely see. Let me just check on this. Yeah. A lot of people watching over there on X. If you're over there on X, shoot me a message. Alexander says, I need a new Mac Mini Pro with M4. Absolutely. I hope this will be one announced soon. So the MacBook Pro is, what I'm looking at is probably going to be $6,000. I'm going to get the 8 terabyte SSD. I have a 4 terabyte now, and I'm going to go up to the 8 terabyte because I edit off this thing all the time. And you can edit Final Cut Pro fine off the internal SSD. Not an issue anymore. Used to be with spinning disks, yes, but not with this stuff. Very, very fast. So let me just see something here. No Gardner out there. No, Gardner's back inside. I'm using that ladder to do some help hang some deer fence when I get done this broadcast. Which new M4 will be released first? Well, it probably won't be the Extreme. It'll probably be the Pro. Do I have a Pro? I think I have a Pro in this. I got the top. Let me see what this says. Oh, I have the Max. I have the Apple M1 Max, 64 gigabytes of memory. Sonoma, thank you very much for the thumbs up. I'm running Sonoma, but I'm behind a little bit. So, yeah, I have the M1 Max, which I'd probably get again. Next, Mac OS and iOS, we all bet AI, so I'm expecting WWDC feature Final Cut Pro in some way during the event. Sure, they could show, since they've already announced 10.8 and it's not out yet, I certainly expect it to be out before WWDC, but listen, Logic's coming out Monday. They could release Final Cut Pro on Monday as well. Whatever they're going to do, and the good thing is, it's not tied to the iPad version because there's no common features between the two. Zero, which is kind of interesting. It's an interesting thing that they're doing there. So WWDC will be interesting and exciting again, and it would not surprise me for them to show Final Cut Pro maybe on the Mac this time, since they showed it on the iPad for the iPad event. Listen, they've done a lot of things different. Final Cut Pro 7 to Final Cut Pro 8, 6 months. That's the shortest amount of time ever between full number updates. Prior to that, 10.5 to 10.6 was 1 year. Prior to that, it was 2 and 3 years between full number updates. This time it's been 6 months. So those numbers don't really mean anything in that much anymore. AI is the future. Mac has to join the AI race. I think they're already working on that. They've been working on it for a while. They're just waiting to, whatever their holdup is, that's what they're doing, and they're going to incorporate it. WWDC, everybody says that. Here's a hello to Rogerio. There you go. We have 105 people watching live right now, which is really, really good. We have a good time on these Saturday mornings. Yes, we do. So what else do we have to talk about? I showed you the article about Final Cut. Back up your version of Final Cut before 10.8 comes out, and you say it automatically muted. Automatically updated for you. Make sure you back up your copy of Final Cut. Back up your copy of Logic Pro. How do you can you back up an app on the iPad? I don't even know. Can you do that? Can you back up I guess you can do a backup of the iPad, but can you back up the app specifically? I don't know. I don't know how that works. All righty. So, by the way, this is certainly interesting. Let me just check on this one thing real quick. So, let me just check and see what the latest count is. The latest count is... Okay, I am very cool. I am 2,000 views away from 500,000 views on my YouTube channel. 2,000 more views. It'll happen this week. I get thousands every week. I have almost 1,000 videos up. Almost 1,000 videos on my channel. A lot of them are about Final Cut Pro, but there's other subject matters as well. For example, when I went to NAB, I did a lot of different interviews and stuff. One of the more popular videos, though, was, I talked to Grant Petty, so that was a popular one. But Elon Musk's Tesla tunnel, the LVCC, Las Vegas tunnel that goes from the Central Hall to the West Hall, has thousands of views. So even though I didn't go there for that, but I did a video of it, getting down there and tunnel and going. People are interested in that stuff. So I do different things. I have almost 1,000 videos up. I'm approaching I'm 2,000 views away from 500,000. I never thought that I'd see those kind of numbers, but I'm going to be at 500,000, 500,000 views, probably within the next week or so. I'll let you know. I'll make an announcement when it reaches. I'm hoping I can get it, make a screen grab when it says $499.99, but we'll have to see how that works. Nice guitar behind you, Fender. Yep, that's a Fender. But I have my trusty old Fender right here. You can't see it. It's right over there. It's another Fender. This is a 69 Strat over there. That's my baby. This one is a 71 or 72. It's a different neck bolt pattern. But I like both of them. I like rosewood necks. So I like rosewood necks. Alrighty, I think we're going to finish up here for today. 112 people are watching live. Let me see. So yeah, we got a lot of people watching from X, the X platform, which is really, really cool. Let me see who's watching from Facebook. Yeah, we got people watching from Facebook, of course. $110 people. So what do you think about, are you satisfied with what's been announced with Final Cut Pro 10? Are you satisfied with 10.8? It's not a giant update, but it's got some cool features, right? Let's go over and look at these features that it has. All right, let's see the features. These are the features that it has. Let me see. These are the features that it has. Enhance light and color. That's a one-click button to enhance the lightness of your image and the color. There's some kind of a new improved slow-mo. Supposed to be better than what's available now. The ability to name custom names in the inspectors is a big deal. 13 years and you could not name your color corrections. Okay, so that's a big one. Effects can be dragged from the inspector to other clips in the timeline or viewer. Been on my list for a long time. Timeline index search for and navigate to clips with missing effects or media. That's really nice to have. Because a lot of times you go to export something and it says can't export because something's missing. You don't know where it is. You don't know what's missing. Now you can search in the timeline index, I believe with the word missing, and it'll show you, it'll highlight the clips or titles or whatever that are missing, and then gives you more clue as to what's happening and how to correct it. Text-based timeline search includes reel, scene, camera angle, and more. So there's more sophistication in the timeline index search field. Your audio is loud and clear. That's good. Did you see the tiny auto captions icon on the Final Cut Pro 8.10 screenshot? I thought that was for, let me see. Let me pull this up. I thought that was for, here, let's pull that up while you're talking about it. While you're talking about it, let's pull this up. Let me do this. Let me do this. Let me do that. Okay, hold on a second. I think you're talking about this. Hold on a second. Let me go over here. That one, that one. I think you're talking about this. That icon, right? Or is it a different icon you're talking about? I don't know, but that to me is a scrolling timeline icon. The playhead, right? I think that's a scrolling timeline icon, that one. That was noticed in the, that was actually in the press release photographs that Apple put out. That's a new icon and it looks like a scrolling timeline icon to me. Don't know yet. There was no announcement made, so we don't know, but it looks like a scrolling timeline. I think I did see another icon somewhere else that may be captioned. I think that was on the iPad version, so not 10.8. It shows that Final Cut Pro roadmap you mentioned during Final Cut Pro Summit is happening. Final Cut Pro, it shows the Final Cut Pro roadmap you mentioned during Final Cut Pro Summit is happening. What does? Yeah, Final Cut for iPad. Yeah, I did see one there. I did see like a captioning or something there. But, you know, Final Cut for iPad doesn't have a scrolling timeline yet. At least it hasn't been announced if they do. So that would be interesting. Yeah, I think, here's what I think. I think we're going to see 10 point, I think we're going to see Final Cut Pro 11 at least previewed, if not released, in 6 months at the Final Cut Pro Creative Summit, because that would follow in the footsteps of what they did with Logic. Logic was at 10.8.1. Well, 10.8 came out in November with Final Cut Pro, 10.7. And 6 months later, they've announced on Monday, Logic 11. Now, there's not that many features in Logic 11, but there are some big features. So they've been working on them for a while. But they did 5 updates in one announcement. They did 5 updates in one announcement. Final Cut for iPad 2, Logic for iPad 2, Final Cut Pro 10.8 for the Mac, Logic Pro 11 for the Mac, and then the Final Cut camera. That's 5 things that they updated at one time, or they are updating at one time. But even bigger, here's even a bigger thing than that. They had a Final Cut segment during an Apple presentation dedicated to Final Cut, even though it was Final Cut for the iPad. They so rarely do that. So that is really, really cool. Thank you very much for the thumbs up. We got 32 thumbs up. Fantastic. They so rarely do that, and they did that for this iPad event. So that definitely was a bonus. If you're watching over there on X, the X platform, send a text message over so I can see another one. Let me see, there we are. X is a little bit clunky right now for trying to get, see, I can say something. Well, you got to spell right. There we go. So this is from the X platform. Thanks for watching. That's from the X platform. So we got comments mostly from YouTube, which is usual. We got comments, somebody else over there on X that's watching. 87 people are watching over there now. Go ahead and send me a comment over from X. It's a little clunky on where you got to go to send a comment. That's the only thing that's weird. So what does everybody think about who's using Final Cut on the iPad versus Final Cut on the Mac? That's the first question. If you're using Final Cut on the Mac, what do you think about Final Cut Pro 10.8? What do you think? I'm interested to get my hands on that as well, but back up your copy. Back up your copy. Don't forget that. Let me go over here to YouTube, see what's going on. Yeah, I got all the comments over there. We have 110 people watching live right now. Absolutely. Our numbers have gone way up. Our numbers have gone way up. So that's cool. Let me just check over there and see what's going on over at X, if anything happening in the hashtag FCPX, Final Cut Pro 4. What is that? So, like I said, I'm not a big fan of iOS. I like macOS a lot more than iOS. A lot more than iOS. Let's do this. Now, do I have that? Let me see if I have that over there. Web video. Do I have that over there? Take that off here. Yeah, I do have it over there. Here we go. So let me turn this live. Master list of Final Cut Pro 10.8, Final Cut 2 for iPad. Different articles and things are over there. Plus the camera. Don't forget the camera app. That's a big deal. To me it is. Here's the top requests. So let me just pull this up a little smaller. 101 top requests for Final Cut Pro in 2023. So they did the scrolling timeline, which used to be number one. I left it up there because it's been number one for so long. But I'm going to show you a couple of other. Here's a roles-based mixer, which I expect to be coming shortly. Roles-based mixer. They do have it in there. Text-based editing is a big one. So here I want to show you this. This is the Final Cut Pro team knows about this list, and they keep crossing things off of it, which is really, really good. This one kills me. It takes 5 clicks to make a default share destination. Should be 1 click. Compound clips expand for editing in place in the timeline. That's a big one. Look, we have color improvements. Yes, we got some color improvements. Rename color adjustments in the inspector. Yes, we got both of those from the list. It's been on the list for a long time. Color improvements, we have the one-click color now, and then rename color adjustments in the inspector. Two items that they took off the list. Okay, here's another one. This is a big one. It's been on here for a long time. I even did a graphic about it. Drag a customized effect from the inspector to a clip or selected clips in the timeline or event browser. Okay, this is number 38. And they finally incorporated it. I even did a graphic of it. Dragging from the inspector to a clip in the timeline. That's two things the Final Cut Pro team have taken from that list, and they're now available in 10.8. I backed up my copy of Final Cut Pro the day after the announcement. I do, however, do not have any projects that can't be finished prior to release, and my personal projects have very short turnaround time. There you go. There you go. So I have a list. I have a list of things. Let's go back over to my page over here. I have a list of things that are different between Final Cut for the iPad and Final Cut Pro. Feature parity checklist. It's on the main page. So, feature parity checklist, Final Cut Pro versus Final Cut for iPad. I have 40 things that Final Cut for iPad, over 40 things that Final Cut for iPad does not have, that Final Cut for Mac, Final Cut Pro for Mac has. If you want to go to we have a Facebook page over here. Oh, I can't. What did I do there? Didn't want to do that. How do I go back? Oh, I see. Back. Here we go. Final Cut for iPad tips and tricks. That's where you can go. We have a dedicated page for Final Cut for iPad. But I have missing features, Final Cut for iPad. Okay, no editing off external drives. You can see that was crossed off the list because a new update. Subscription only, no white balance, no stabilization, no color board, color wheels, color curves, use saturation curves, one scope at a time, no multiple scopes, no audio sub-rolls, and only 3 audio rolls, only 1 video roll, etc., etc. So I got 40 plus things over here that Final Cut for iPad does not have. Now, I don't have Final Cut for iPad. I have to go by what is released, the press releases. So anybody that uses Final Cut on the iPad, please visit that page and let me know if I have to update this list. If something's been added, I know they added a voiceover tool, so that wasn't there originally. So right there, that wasn't there originally. So that's been crossed off the list, and no external editing off external drives also was on the list. That's been crossed off. But if you use Final Cut on the iPad, do me and the community a favor, hop over there, check my list, see if something is inaccurate or something should be added or taken off, and I will do that. And I will do that. I will take care of it. Will you be renaming the Final Cut Pro 10.7 group on Facebook now that 10.8 has been announced? I already did that. I did that this morning. But here's the thing. Let me just go over there real quick, what you're talking about. Here is the thing. Let me close this out. Here. I just renamed this morning, and I called it Final Cut Pro 11 based on the fact that I think we're going to see Final Cut Pro 11 this year in 2024. But if you look at here, it says this group will be dedicated to Final Cut Pro 10.7, 10.8, and Final Cut Pro 11 discussions. So 10.7, 10.8, and Final Cut Pro 11. Final Cut Pro 11 is coming a lot quicker than I thought, based on the fact that Logic Pro jumped from 8 to 11 in 6 months. Anybody know if Final Cut Camera will be available in the App Store for free to use on iPhone 15, 14, or 15? Yes, it will. It's available for free. You do not need Final Cut Pro, and you do not need Final Cut for the iPad. Free app. What it is, it's a pro level native camera app, a pro level one. So you have manual controls and a lot more controls. It has audio meters. How long have we been living with the camera app on the iPhone and there's no audio meters? It's ridiculous that they don't have audio meters. So Final Cut for iPad is a free app. Anybody can download it for, I'm not sure how many versions of the iPhone it goes back, but it goes back. Yeah, finally. So you don't need to use it for Final Cut or the Final Cut on the iPad. But at this point, Final Cut on the iPad has live multicam. So that looks very, very cool. Very cool. Yep. Final Cut 11 has come a lot quicker than I thought it was going to. That's, it's kind of amazing. All righty. Let's go over here. Well, this year, certainly, yes, I think so. I think we're going to see Final Cut 11 within 6 months, probably at least a preview at the Final Cut Pro Creative Summit in November. It has not been announced yet. The Final Cut Pro Creative Summit has not been announced. I'm just saying, I'm anticipating the Final Cut camera coming out. So, I mean, Final Cut Creative Summit happening. Huh. Well, that's interesting. Let me do this real quick. Hold on 1 second. Here we got a bird. Cool. Very interesting there. Very, very interesting. Huh. Yes, those are blackbirds. Well, those are starlings. We call them starlings. We call them starlings. I can't tell. Let me see. I can't tell what... That's a starling, yeah. So that's a papa starling or a mama starling, and that's a baby starling. That is a baby starling. It's like brown. You'll see the mama papa starling feed them. See, I was feeding them. So they look like they're big enough they should be able to eat by themselves, but apparently they're not. That's a starling. It's like brownish, but the parent is feeding it. Good point. Final Cut camera will go back to XS, and iPad's running 17.4. Absolutely. Final Cut camera. Would like Apple to allow you to use the live switching between angles in the Final Cut camera app on our Macs, not just on an iPad. I would rather spend money on an extra iPhone than an iPad. So it's not the camera app. The camera app does not do the switching. The Final Cut camera app is just what allows Final Cut on iPad 2 to do the live switching. It uses any camera that's running Final Cut camera any iPhone camera that's running Final Cut Camera to be used in live switching portion of Final Cut for iPad. The Final Cut Camera app is not enabling that. It's just, it becomes a source. The actual switching is internal to the iPad, Final Cut for iPad 2 in the app itself. But I know what you're saying. Maybe that will come with M4 on the Mac, M4 Max. I have M4 Max. They have M4 Max, M4 Extreme coming up, I'm sure. You're not going to see that on an iPad. You're only going to get the base level M4, which is really good, with 16 gigabytes of RAM max on the iPad. You won't have 64, 128 gigabytes of RAM available. So the iPad camera does not enable the live switching. That's built in to Final Cut iPad 2, built into that app that can use any camera running Final Cut Camera as a source, local. I don't know how far away. I don't think that can be over the internet. Thank you very much for the thumbs up. It's appreciated. 34 thumbs up. Fantastic. But I think it's coming to the Mac. I don't see why not. Why wouldn't it come to the Mac? Unless they wanted to have exclusive feature for the iPad. But I don't think they're going to do that. I don't think they're going to do that. Probably will be better yet using iPhone 16. Apple is going to be getting my money this year one way or the other. For one thing, I am keeping my iPhone 15 Pro Max. I'm not going to sell it. I'm not going to trade it in. This will be my B camera. And I'll be buying the iPhone 16 in September or October when it comes out. Hopefully before the Final Cut Pro Creative Summit. Huh. Is that, what the heck's going on there? I don't know. It's interesting. One of my overhead lights are going out. Must be not charged. It's battery powered. What is known about the iPad M4 with up to 1 terabyte at a cost of $2,000? Is it worth buying? Oh, I think so. If you have any use for an iPad, I think this is an excellent device. Now, here's the thing with me. I can buy it right now. I'm going to wait till I see it. I've already seen it for sale for $100 off on Autorama in New York. I've seen it on sale already for $100 off. I'll wait till I see $150, $200 sale somewhere, and I'll go ahead and grab one. There's two main things why I want to get the iPad. Three main things. Number one, my iPad right now is very old. It's an iPad Air 2. 4, 5, 6 years old. It's very, very old. Number two is watching movies on an airplane on an iPad Pro would be phenomenal. Would be phenomenal. I have probably the trip coming up to Cupertino in November to the Creative Summit. Probably. Hasn't been announced, but I'm anticipating it will be. If they do announce it and we're going to see the Final Cut Pro team, I'm sure they're going to have something to show us. Could be Final Cut Pro 10.8.5, but since Logic jumped from 8 to 11 in 6 months, I expect that Final Cut Pro will do the same thing, 6 months. So watching a movie on right now I watch it on my iPad Air 2. Watching it on an iPad Pro is very, very attractive. I really like that. Number 3 is using LumaFusion on it. I'm really excited about editing on the iPad with LumaFusion. Final Cut Pro, I already have Final Cut Pro. I have a superior version of Final Cut Pro on my MacBook Pro with 64 gigabytes of RAM, plenty of attached 3 or 4 extra Thunderbolt ports, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm really excited about LumaFusion on the iPad Pro. I will very likely be getting it. Then I will wait longer to get the M4 version of the MacBook Pro, which I expect they're going to be talking about at WWDC, maybe just announcing that it might come out later this year. They might do a preview. Hey, we got these new M4 Macs coming out. One of them is going to be the MacBook Pro. One's going to be the Mac Studio. Let me just check on something here. See, this is interesting. There's a comment here from Carter Bing. Good morning from North Carolina. That I did not show up in the chat window. At least I didn't see it. The live switching should also be available on the M1, M2, and M3 powered Mac since they'd be more than powerful enough. I would think so. I was hoping that the iPad could be available with Wi-Fi 7, but no. Wi-Fi 7 is awesome. I don't know about that. I'm sure it is awesome. I mean, I don't think that's available. What kind of birds are there now? Some kind of birds. They're very active today. So, yeah, I'll be getting an iPad Pro, I'm sure. The 12.9, 1 terabyte space black. With an Apple Pencil, but I'm not sure what Apple Pencil is best. I haven't seen the reviews yet. So we'll have to see how that goes. So we want to say, we want to give accolades to the Final Cut Pro team. They did a great job with 5 updates. Do that again. They did a great job with 5 updates. Final Cut 2 for iPad, Final Cut Pro 10.8, Logic Pro 11, Logic for the iPad version 2, and Final Cut Camera, which once again, nobody saw that coming. It's not Final Cut Pro Camera. It's not FCP Camera. It's Final Cut Camera. There's no Pro in that camera app. So that'll be cool. That'll be very, very cool. I expect 10.8 maybe this week. Final Cut Pro 10.8 for the Mac maybe this week. Logic Pro's been announced for Monday. Logic Pro for both the iPad and the Mac. I'll be getting the Mac version. And I've already zipped my copy of Logic Pro, so that'll be cool. With significant improvements to the secondary lenses on the next iPhone Pro and Max, I will be considering buying a Pro or Max and use it in conjunction with my 15 Pro Max in a dual camera setup. So yeah, I'm keeping my 15 Pro Max. It's a great camera. Finally got USB-C, finally after all these years. And I have 3 other iPhones, older ones that I keep around for secondary cameras. I'll sell a couple of those for just a few $100, whatever I can get locally. But I'm keeping my 15 Pro Max as my iPhone B camera. And then my iPhone 16 Pro Max will be my iPhone A camera. And also I have the Lumix S5 Mark IIX, which is an excellent camera. It just came out with a firmware update that allows it to be used. You can send files for Frame.io. Panasonic and Frame.io did a handshake, and now you can send files right from the Lumix with Wi-Fi connection to Frame.io. Very cool. Very cool. I talked to Emery over there at NAB from Frame.io. So I think we're in good shape. Let's see what we got here. Fantastic. Fantastic. $34. That's interesting. Thumbs up from Facebook show up. And the thumbs up, of course, from YouTube show up. But then the thumbs up don't show up. If anybody, I don't know how you do a thumbs up on X. Can I show you this camera? The Lumix S5 Mark IIX. I can't show you mine. I can't show you mine. Let me see. Let me see if I can. Yeah, it's a great camera. I bought it. It's last year. Last year. Let me just see here. I have 4 lenses for it. Let me pull it up here. It's a great camera. It's a full, first off, it's a full frame camera. It's a full frame camera. Let's do this. This is it. This is my Lumix S. This is not mine. This is just a generic picture of it. The Lumix S5 Mark II-X. It's a beautiful, beautiful, full frame, low light monster, phase detect autofocus. I just absolutely love it. It's a great camera, and I will be bringing this to the Final Cut Pro Creator Summit. I brought it last year. This year, if I come bring it, I'm going to bring it because some of the classrooms are low light, and the iPhone just doesn't cut it when the light's low. So it's a beautiful camera, full frame, phase detect autofocus. It's great in low light. So I'll be bringing this to the Final Cut Pro Creator Summit to do some filming in some of the low light situations. I'll just bring one lens though. I'll probably bring my 85 mil because usually I'm at the back of the room. I want to zoom into the stage area. I got plenty of wide shots with my camera, with my iPhone, but this one I'll bring to the Final Cut Pro Creator Summit. Very cool. When is the update being released for the Mac? We don't know for sure. They didn't even mention a release. They just said it's coming. They didn't say later this year, later this spring. It could be any time. They've announced Logic Pro is being updated Monday. They pre-announced that. So I expect it could come out with Logic Pro on Monday. Very possible. It's not tied to the iPad release of Final Cut Pro because there's no common features between the two. Completely different feature set between Final Cut 10.8 and Final Cut on the iPad 2. No features in common, 0 features in common. So, Alexander likes my Lumix S5 Mark II-X. It's a really, really cool camera. I've had it for about a year. Really like it. I'm a big fan of Panasonic. This is my first full frame, so I bought a whole new set of lenses with it. I'm shooting right now. My webcam is a Lumix GH4. I also have a GH5. I didn't get the GH5S or the GH6. I didn't want any more micro four thirds cameras, so I waited for this Lumix S5 Mark II-X, which is a full frame, great in low light, great auto detect, fake phase detect autofocus. 2 things that I absolutely wanted. It's very compact. Very compact camera. It shoots stills too, but I'm not a photographer. So what do you think about Final Cut Pro 10.8? Anybody have any other opinions about it? What is that? There's Lumix. So we also have, so I'm going to show you one thing real quick. So this All right. I think I'm going to get out of here, everyone. I sure appreciate it. I want to make sure everybody gets... You're the best audience available for any Final Cut Pro live stream. Now, the other thing is my other video you can watch on YouTube. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe over there. We're only 2,000 views. I have almost 1,000 videos up on YouTube. Not all Final Cut Pro, but a lot of Final Cut Pro. Thank you very much for the thumbs up. 34 thumbs up this time. Fantastic. I have almost 1,000 videos up there. A lot of Final Cut Pro stuff. I think my top one is about 30,000 views, and then it goes into the 20s and the 10s and thousands of views. I'm only 2,000 views away from 500,000 views. I'm only 2,000 views away from 500,000 views. So, that's very cool. Don't go over there. Go over there. Richard Taylor TV at YouTube, youtube.com. @ Richard Taylor TV is fine, or just Richard Taylor TV. Watch some videos. Get my count up to 500,000 views by next week. That'll be fine. I'm beginning my first check from YouTube. I never thought I'd be getting a check from YouTube. Getting my first check from YouTube. Very cool. It's all because of you. It's all because of you. And not only is it because of you, but I want to absolutely give accolades to the Final Cut Pro team. They did a great job with these 5 updates. Are they going to please everybody? No, they never will. They never will. Would I like to see more updates faster? Yes, I would. For Final Cut, for the Mac. That's what I care about. That's what I care about. Go over there, subscribe, hit the like button, watch some more videos, see if I can get to 500,000 views by next Saturday. I might do a live stream when Logic Pro comes out on Monday. Maybe. We'll do some run-throughs if you're interested in Logic Pro. We'll see what's going on with that. I'll download it. I've already backed on my copy of Logic Pro. I'll download it and install it and run through it a little bit. Probably come back for a live stream Monday afternoon, probably. Just a short one, because it's about Logic. Unless Final Cut Pro 10 is released Final Cut Pro 10.8 is released at the same time. Unless it's released at the same time, that would be phenomenal. All right, everyone, I'm going to get out of here. I sure appreciate each and every one of you for tuning in. So I'll probably be back Monday with Logic Pro for a short live video, but I'll be back next Saturday for Final Cut TV and Coffee. I expect each and every one of you to come back next Saturday. All right? Tell your friends. Tell your friends. We're getting over 100 live viewers every time we come live, which is fantastic. Fantastic. My name is Richard Taylor. I'll see you on the next live broadcast. Thanks for tuning in.